Characters are the who in your story. Create rich characters whom your audience will care about. Every well-written story has rounded characters that feel like real people. This is probably the biggest mistake that most student writers make. Most students focus on writing an exciting plot that's full of action. But unless your character is somebody that the audience cares about, there's going to be no impact if your character is in danger or your character dies. Many characters feel like this: an empty vessel without any personality or characteristics. It's important that you develop your characters, so instead of this empty character, you create someone who you can visualize and understand. Here you can see a crazy mad scientist. Would you be more interested in reading a story about the person on the left or the person on the right? I want to know, why is that scientist crazy? What's this mad scientist up to? Why is he mad? Here's how you can create rich characters. First, their physical description. What do they look like? Their actions. What do they do? Dialogue. What do they say? Thoughts. What do they think? And finally, reactions. How do other people react to your characters? Let's take a look at an example of each of these. First, physical description. Charlie was only 5 feet and 6 inches tall, but he seemed taller due to his impeccable posture and immaculate clothes. He wore only custom-made suits and shirts that were pressed daily by the cleaners. In addition, his necktie was carefully tied in a beautiful Windsor knot, and his leather shoes reflected brightly from a daily shoe shine. Furthermore, his light brown hair was always neatly trimmed from a bi-weekly haircut at an upscale salon in the most fashionable part of town. Can you picture Charlie in your mind? What kind of person do you think he'd be like if you had a conversation with him? He's so well dressed, and he looks after himself so carefully. So he may be someone that's very meticulous, or who spends a lot of money on their looks. Or perhaps he looks in the mirror a lot every day. But through this description, we start building a sense of what kind of person Charlie is. Okay, now let's take a look at a short example with actions. Angela always slammed doors behind her, never held elevators for others, and perpetually complained to servers about the taste of her coffee and food. I don't know about you, but I would not want to be friends with Angela. Her actions show that she is selfish, rude, and generally inconsiderate. Now let's see some dialogue. Laura entered the room and greeted the class. "Hello, my beautiful darling children. How are you this glorious day?" The class droned in a monotonous hum. "Fine, Ms. Smith." "We can do better than that. Aren't you so happy to be alive? What wonderful things did you do this weekend? I'm so excited to hear about your activities. Reginald, what did you do yesterday?" "Nothing." "Come now, darling, don't be shy. You must have done something." "Nah, I didn't." "Surely you ate something delicious, drank something refreshing, saw something marvelous, or heard something amusing, right?" "Nah." So, through this dialogue, we get a sense of the class and of Laura Smith, the teacher. She seems full of energy and upbeat. She's irrepressible. She's happy. She's enthusiastic. On the other hand, the kids sound bored and dull and disinterested. Next, let's look at an example with thoughts. At 4 p.m., aware of his beating heart, Levin stepped out of his carriage at the Zoological Gardens and headed straight for the skating rink. He knew that his beloved Kitty would be there, since he had spotted her family's carriage parked near the rink. As he walked towards the rink, Levin kept saying to himself, "Calm down. Don't be such an idiot. Please, stop being so excited." However, the more he tried to calm himself, the more out of breath he became. At the rink, he instantly picked her out of the crowd. Rapture and terror filled his heart. We see a few examples of Levin's thoughts here. He's so excited, he can't control himself to see the love of his life. We get a sense of somebody madly in love, who's excitable and nervous. Finally, let's take a look at an example of reactions. Marco leaned back on the sofa and put his feet up on the coffee table. However, as soon as his father entered the room, Marco sprung upright and sat properly. He even brushed the table to clean any dust or dirt in case his father looked down. Marco's father walked slowly, but he gazed steadily at his son. "Hello, sir," Marco stuttered. Marco's father merely made a slight gesture with his mouth to indicate that he heard Marco. He then turned around and exited the room. Marco continued to sit upright, still nervous that his father might re-enter. Of course, here we learn a little bit about Marco through his actions. Originally he's sitting very casually, but then he gets very nervous when his dad comes in. But you can see that through his reactions, we learn a little bit about his dad. His dad is someone who's very intimidating, that makes Marco nervous and scared, that makes Marco stutter. We've barely described his father, yet we get a sense of what kind of person he is. These are some of the tools in your toolkit to build rich characters. Physical description, actions, dialogue, thoughts, and reactions. Make your audience love your characters, or hate your characters, but make them care about your characters by developing them, by giving them depth and richness.